So, this is Pendulum's new format. I got top 8 at the UDS Invitational. They gave me a lanyard instead of money. Oh well. Oh, and this pin. And then I got this little thing that we can't use. That was already there. So this is post. Everyone else was playing current ban list, but I was playing post ban list. Kind of like how Triff was at the regional. Um, and it worked, but when it didn't work, it crashed and burned. So I know exactly what to take out, and I'll explain. But the best parts, I think I placed this in order. This is in a weird order, but first we'll start off with 3 Bumbukus. These are like the best. They just kept generating advantage turn after turn. You know, Bumbuku into Bumbuku into Bumbuku, or if I needed a low scale. Cat, and they would actually search me draws to discard, which was actually relevant. 3 Jackal King, the Mythical Beast engine. I noticed like when the deck worked best is when you actually didn't pendulum summon that much. Like every time I beat them, it was just without pendulum summoning. And then obviously 2 of these, only 2 instead of 3 because this is pretty risky. Like if they ash, then yeah, that's basically it. You can still pendulum summon the high level stuff, but your low level stuff and your high level stuff are gonna be split between the 4.
Yeah, and you can't pop it anymore because ELECTRUM's banned.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about testing Wavering Eyes. There's actually something that I put in there that I attempted to simulate Electromite. And then this is actually great. The only hand trap in the deck, Pendulum hand trap. Usually if you bounce, some decks if you bounce their normal summon back, they just end their turn. They would try to like imperm your 1 negate with this or something else. And then once they go through with that, they would just start activating spells, and I would gain counters, but they don't think I would respond with anything. And then when they put an important summon on board, I would just bounce it back to hand, and then that would just end their turn. Basilisk for generating counters and also drawing, a lot of drawing. This didn't suck, but it also didn't help at all. I'm really hesitant to take it out right now. Okay, and then for the Endymion part, 3 boss guys. Usually, I almost never pendulum summon this guy. It was actually pretty bad pendulum summoning him. Usually, I would try to summon him off of Magister or Servant. I only summoned it once the entire tournament. But summoning him with his spell counter is actually pretty good because Altergeist, which is probably going to be the best deck at that and Guru, they have a really hard time like dealing with that if they don't main Boral or if they didn't banish their Borals off of the Extravagance. I'm probably going to bump this up to 3. Magister, just normal summon him, and then on your opponent's standby, you just remove 3 counters to bring either that or Jackal King out. The monster effects are pretty better than this. And then I'm probably going to run just 1 more, just because I'm not sure whether I want to run more, because that's the main bounce target is like Colossus, but, Colossus is gone. But if you can't set up your scales, or if you're in an awkward position, this basically helps you summon out this or Jekyll King straight from your hand. And the level summon comes up with Vortex, but I didn't even make Vortex. And then finally the one Servant. Actually, even when I was at 3, when I was playing this, I actually didn't really use it. I would only use it if I already had it in hand, or if I had a bunch of spells plus a way to search that. But usually I would just go for Magister, even when this was at 3. I don't know if I'll bump this up because once you put this in the scale, you have only 1 other scale to work with. So if you have a handful of pendulums, that's really suboptimal. I think I'm gonna keep it at 1 for now. I'm probably gonna try it 1 more time with 3 to see how that works. And then, obviously, the most important card, dead against Thunders, but they're dead now. So there's the Endymion part of the spell counters. And then the worst part of the deck, the Performapals. I thought this would be like Electromite to clear my skills so I can search and activate more skills. It worked only once, but that was when I was already kind of in a good position. I'll show the rest. The search targets, the draw 2. The draw 2 was great, but I was already winning, and all that I was already at like 10 spell counters. This worked, but the synchro target, I didn't have enough synchro targets. So I'm going to try this 1 more time with other level 8s, because all I had was Boral Savage. But there was only 1 time where I could, yeah. Alright, and then the last one, which is a bit more useful, I guess you could just run this and just drop everything except maybe this. Performapal, the Twink Magician, Performapal Celestial Magician, which like literally just came out. Literally it's just another Nekomata, but the most important part is I don't need the high scale. I guess if I have Servant, that matters. But most important part is Dark Spellcaster, which level 4, which is really pretty useful actually. Allure target, Secret Village target, and a couple of other stuff. Especially for link material, that actually matters. The spellcaster.
So it has the same effect as
Nekomata.
No, the whatchamacallit, the Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and the Draco Exceed.
Well, the Draco Exceeds and this one activate on well, the Draco Exceeds is on summon. This one I can summon it and then I just do stuff and then activate the effect and then it checks my field and then gives me all those effects. And then on end phase.
So it's kind of like Odd Eyes Dragon or Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and the Draco.
It's more like Nekomata, but I can choose when to activate it during the main phase instead of.
Okay, so your opponent can just when you summon that they can just like compulse it or something.
Yes.
And you won't be able to activate it.
Yes, but then I have other stuff as well. If this card is normal summon this turn. Yeah. So basically this is a hand trap bait for the more important plays. But the level 4 is actually helpful. Most of the times I just summon it and then end phase search. I make IP Masquerena and then I discard whatever I search. Mostly just another advantage generator. So Performapals were actually suboptimal. So I'm probably going to take them all out except for these two. Because this one's good for making synchro bosses, especially with the Master 5. And then this one's good just because it's a dark. I might try this one more time with Wavering Eyes, and if not, then I'll just take out the whole Performapal engine. It's not as good as like the Endymion stuff, because it's more reliant on the Pendulum Summon, whereas the Endymion doesn't care. And then 3 Chronographs and Time Gazer. I don't run the Supreme King because that doesn't work well with the link materials. The types actually matter, but this one's a spellcaster, which is actually perfect. And then this is also useful for when I pop one of the mythical beasts. I could just summon this and then another boss on board without having a pendulum summon. I did have this as a synchro option. I would have this on board, and then I would use this monster's effect to summon this from the scale, and then make a Boral Savage and attach for a negate. But I'm probably gonna put more level 8s in there. I do like the synchro engine. The one searchable Veiler. I haven't searched it, but I did end up drawing into it, and it does come up. It lets me make level 7 synchros as well. Level 7 and 8. So that's just Veiler. This was actually suboptimal because I actually didn't have enough darks. That's why I wanted to take out the Performapals, except for Celestial Magician. Allure. I think twice in the tournament I blind allured and lost. That was only like my blind allured and won. I want to say this was bad and good. Like they really didn't have any hand traps to use against me, so most of the time this was dead. I'm probably just gonna keep this in the side for when I know they have hand traps. And then obviously this is like the best part, the Spellbook engine. I was thinking about putting out all the Spellbook cards like towers, so I could just recycle this and just use it again, the engine, for more draws. I'm actually using the Prophecy link, which is actually practical. And I can actually just normal summon what's his face, because I can just pendulum summon everything out, make the Prophecy link, then normal summon any of the mythical beasts or Endymions, or Master Cerberus. And then for some of the other spells, just to put the spell counter, we got 2-Part Desires. Everyone fights over ratios, but I didn't know what my third one was. I probably would have played 3, but I was already at 55. 1 Terraforming to search one of the 3 field spells I need, and also counters. Set Rotation, and then the 3 spells for set rotation. Necro Valley, because it's pretty good against Striker. I guess I don't really need to run it anymore since Striker, Thunder, and Orcust aren't really going to be a problem anymore. So I'll probably take that one out. Endymion for spell counters, and Secret Village for basically every other deck. I saw Triss' video. He went a little different with his build, but he ended up 1 draw, 1 loss. I actually also did 1 draw, 1 loss. So that's just a funny thing. For the side deck, 3 evenly matched, mostly for back row decks. That's a real problem against this deck. And just in case, I had to put this together in like 30 seconds because I was filling out the deck list really late and registration really late. I think I had like 2 minutes before the round started for the side deck, just to put together. 2 Lancius because I didn't know where the third one was. And then for the Salamangreats, 3 Nibiru, and then practicing with the 1 Pankratops. This is actually pretty good for, if you don't know if you're going first or second, you just put 1 in for when you're going second, but if they make you go first, you can just pendulum summon out. And it actually did win me a game against Altergeist, just because they couldn't deal with it. All they had was personal spoofing, so I just killed it. And then for the extra deck, I am going to make some changes to the extra deck, but since I had a couple tuners, my synchro targets were Dawn Dragster, never summed it. Boral Savage, I had level 8 access a lot of times, like I mentioned earlier, but it was really hard to get an actual link monster into the graveyard without Electrumite, so I might switch that to the Tinny level 8 or some other utility level 8s, maybe Omega. Never summoned it and never summed it, because it's really hard to get 2 level 7s out without Electrumite. At this point, you might as well just run Odd Eyes Fusion and just the field spell. This was great, actually, with the Majespecter. I actually wanted to play it last time at last regionals that I went to, but I didn't have the Majespecter engine, just because I always ended with Endymion on board. But I guess since she's at 1, she's not as important, so you could just use 2 Majespecters instead. If I went second and I drew the knowledge early with a handful of pendulums, I would just make that, because pendulum spellcasters are a legal target for knowledge, but then it fizzles, so you need something that can actually hit the graveyard. This was actually great. Crowley, just to give you a whole bunch of spell access, spell counters. Usually I didn't use the second effect because I used the normal summon on Blue Boy, but I'd probably use it to summon Endymion, just normal summon Endymion, if I already have spell counters. Daybreaker, another guy who's actually playable now. Actually, these are the reasons I don't run the Supreme Servants, because you need 2 spellcasters for this. The only generic link 2 that I use that doesn't care about typing is Masquerena. And that's mostly just for more interruptions, which, again, I used against a striker player to shuffle away their field spell, just so they wouldn't multi-roll the field spell away. They top decked engage off the field spell, but or revealed engage off the field spell, so I just had to go into Unicorn just to shuffle away the field spell, otherwise they get a monster. They get a Ray. And then the 2 Nightmare targets for Masquerena. And then the big guys, Boral Sword, Boral Load, Crusadia Avermax, and Appaloosa. But these were actually pretty all good, all 4 of them. I'm probably going to keep play testing to see how it was. Final thoughts. Definitely going to take out the Performapals, just stick with Mythical Beasts and all the spell counter cards. I really didn't even need to pendulum summon that much in the whole tournament. I went a lot of matches that there was a lot of duels I won without even pendulum summoning, just because I would just use the effects to summon from hand. Final words, unban Oko and Pioneer. Bring him back. Just bring him back.